Here's a video nobody wants to make. Replace the factory O2 with the NTK sensor that we bought, and replace the pewter, the main brain box, with a used one that I got from a different salvage yard, not Wilbert's. Well, just because, no reason. And it's still broke. WTF, that's what I said. So here's the story. I didn't even bother recording it because it was a slam dunk. It was a good diagnosis, so I thought. So I put the used PCM in it. Even though this O2 sensor heater circuit resistance tested out the same as the new one, we didn't know what it was doing when it got hot. But we know that the heater control output for the Bank 1 Sensor 2 O2 sensor was not being outputted. It wasn't happening. Pop the new PCM in it, redo the keys, redo the VIN, all that stuff. Robert's your mother's brother. Go in, turn the O2 heater on. Voltage starts dropping. Everything's working good. Start the car up, let it warm up, drop it in gear. Second I put it in gear, boom, money lights on. That's weird. Look at it. O2 sensor heater circuit low, Bank 1 Sensor 2, same code. Look at the rear O2. It's working. The heater's on. Everybody looks happy. Clear the code, put it in gear again. The second the car moves, pending code, current code, history, boom, it just populates the whole thing. It's really bizarre. I don't know why. So I just parked it yesterday because I was pissed off, and says, well, I better look at it today. I don't know what I missed. I clearly missed something, or there's some super weird thing that we have, you know, another bad part, which I doubt, but it's kind of bizarre. That's where I'm at. Let's look at it. Let's see how I screwed this thing up. See what I missed. One thing to know is that when it flags the code for the rear O2 heater, or either of the O2 heaters on this car, circuit low, it's not really a circuit code. According to code set criteria, all it's looking at is O2 signal, so the voltage being output from the O2 sensor. And basically, if that is out of its expected range, which of course naturally in service data and engineering notes, they don't give you that expected value, but I would say it's normal value, then it flags this code because it assumes that there is a problem in the O2 heater circuit, even though it's not monitoring the circuit itself. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's keep that in our mind. It's time to get serious. Let's get her done. I super duper hate being wrong. Especially when I'm so sure about something. And now we've got to figure out why. Why were you wrong there, mister? We got something on our screen there. Let's clean that up. Let's go right into the ECM. I believe the code's still there. I don't think I cleared it yesterday in my fit of rage. All I was going to do is just bang out a drive cycle on this thing and flush it. Let's see. O2 heater circuit low. Okay, so let's do this. Let's just look at some live data. We expect, actually I still got some O2 data saved from the first time we looked at this thing. Okay, so I expect to see this on the 0 to 1 volts. We expect to see 2.5 naturally. Let's go look at some actual raw data. Raw dog data. We expect to see 5 volts on these O2 sensors. This thing's stone cold. It sat overnight. Oxygen. Okay, are they under O2? Okay, let's see here. So we want O2 1 volts, 2 volts. Okay, so they're both at 5 volts. That's what we expect to see. So let's go into our active tests for poop and laughter. Let's go to 1-2 heater. Okay, and then we want to grab our O2 data. We want 1-2 volts. I don't think any of these data pits work here, but we're going to select them if I remember right. Let's just have a look-see. Okay, so the data pit is erroneous. It's obviously not 500 degrees. It's 68. When we turn this heater on, that voltage should drop. In theory. I did this yesterday and it worked flawlessly, unless I'm missing something and it smoked this freaking new computer, which will really suck. Well, it didn't. So our voltage should drop. It'll probably drop to, 2.5, or our 0 to 1 volt should drop down to, maybe like 0.8 or something. But let's let this heater heat up. So before, with the old computer, I know this didn't function. I could be wrong. I can stick it back in there or look back through my footage, but I'm certain that we did this test and we had no output. So here we go. Yeah, I mean, we're already down to, a half a volt. So we know the heater's working. We know it has control. We know it has power and ground to control this heater. So this is quite interesting. That's what I'm saying. I mean, what the heck am I missing? So yeah, our heater's working. It's working. It's getting smoking hot. We shut it off. As our O2 sensor cools, our voltage should increase. Here we can pop back out of there. It's going to take a minute for it to cool down. We'll go back into our live data. And let's see. 2 volts. 2 volts. And then, like I say, this should... should watch that start to go back up to its bias. This is going to go back to 2.5, and this is going to go back to 5. Granted, we could do this on the front O2 sensor, but we're not having an issue with that. So this is the really wild part about this thing. It's like, why in the world? What in the thunder am I missing here? Let me think about what my next step is going to be, because I'm out of an answer at the moment. I think one thing I'm going to do is, while the vehicle's cold, I'm going to back out of here. Oops. I'm going to go back into there. We're going to go back into our trouble codes. I'm going to erase the codes. Okay. I'm going to shut the key off here. I'm going to do a little poking on the World Wide Web. And then I think what our next best thing to do is to start the vehicle and see what it's seeing, see what it's doing. Obviously we're controlling it bidirectionally here, but let's just see what the car's seeing and see if we can come up with some kind of answer. So just for grins and giggles, I looked up the 0037. I just wanted to look through service data. Of course, we have our wiring diagram for it. Heater circuit low. When monitored, engine running, battery voltage greater than 10 volts. The set condition, PCM detects bank 1, sensor 2, oxygen sensor, control circuit voltage is below minimum accepted value. Which wire do they consider the control circuit? They have O1 heater control, or O2, 1, 2, they call it heater control. But then, it doesn't really give us much beyond that. I thought they were looking at like bank 1, sensor 2, O2 signal, seeing that its voltage was out of spec. Bank 1, sensor 2, oxygen sensor control circuit voltage is below minimum expected value. Possible causes: O2 heater control shorted to ground, O2 heater control circuit open or high resistance, ground circuit open or high resistance, bad sensor, bad main brain box. And then you go down through their diagnostic procedure. They have you checking the ground, the heater ground particularly, not sensor ground, heater ground with a test light, stating that should be as bright as it is if it was directly connected to the battery. So kind of interesting to see service data actually promote usage of a test light, which is one of the best tools around. And then they also have you using the test light to check for the voltage output, the control side of the heater circuit. And got a fun fact, they state that if your scan tool only allows a maximum of 25% actuation, the brightness should be 25% as bright as if it was connected to the battery. So it's up to your determination. And then after that, it's, useless ohm testing of wires and then replacing the computer endlessly. Okay. So we're armed with a little bit of knowledge. We may pay some closer attention to the actual heater control circuit. I'm gonna do a little more reading here, and we're gonna figure this out, folks. We kind of got to. We're backed into a corner. Just so we can have a look at what's happening, I've split the screen here. Our red trace I've got hooked to the O2 heater control. So this is full-time ground, power side switched. Over here I've got the scan tool so we can turn this on, and our green trace is the current. How many amps is this heater circuit pulling? So we go to 25%, we turn it on, and we can see we're 0 to 12 volts, duty cycle controlled. Our amperage goes up to about 2.3. We can change the duty cycle on it, and our width there should get a little thinner, and it does. And this is right at the O2 sensor. I'm not testing it at the PCM, I'm testing it at the end. So at the O2 sensor itself, back to 25%. So it appears that the circuit's intact. It's intact, it has control. Go to 0, we'll get it turned off. I don't know what else to do at this point. Let's start it up and see what the computer's doing with this thing. See if it gets wonky on us. Now I was reaching up there fiddling with wires, and okay, I did unplug the O2 sensor, so I unplugged it with this test here. So that's interesting. Okay, so we have a circuit high code. So I had the test running, reached up, I'm wiggling wires, checking the scope, nothing's changing. I did unplug it and plug it back in with it on, and that threw a circuit high code. So that's interesting that it did that. Because that tells me that it is actually looking at this sensor, the signal or the control circuit, because that control circuit would have went high with nothing to pull it to ground. Okay, so that's good to know. Let's clear this code out. Oops. Here's a guy I can't read. There he is. Let's erase this code. So that's good to know. That makes me wonder if I just take and short that out, if it does throw a circuit low code. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna come in here, we're gonna go to live data, we're gonna look at the same data, we're gonna monitor it and let the computer control everything here on its own while we're looking at it. I think is going to be the smart thing to do, and see, does this thing screw up? We're just gonna look at 1-2. That's all we care about. 1-2 volts. Heater pulse width. Temperature is irrelevant. We're gonna go to show selected. We're gonna look at our voltage here. We'll just change this from 0 to 5, and then we're gonna look at this one here, and we will change this from 0 to 1. It's gonna be off for a little bit right now until it heats up. Okay, so that's what we're gonna look at. We're gonna split the screen here. We're gonna go back to where we were. All right, again, the red trace being the heater control voltage, green trace being current. They should follow each other. We don't necessarily need both of them. Let's see, everything's playing. Let me go ahead and fire this car up. Okay. All right, it's running. Oh, interesting. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay, so we're at like 80%. There must be some kind of circuit test that it does there. The other little glitch, we'll call it. We'll get into that a little bit later. But we are, voltage-wise, we're good. What's our voltage across the top there? About 14 volts, so charging voltage. And the god dang thing seems like it's working like it should. Instantly heated up, came online. Well, I'm gonna sit here and watch this for a while, folks. I'm not gonna bore you with this gobbledygook on the screen here. At this moment, I don't see anything wrong with it. like I say before, the second you drop this thing in gear, it throw a code immediately. Pending P013502 heater performance. Why? That's a code we didn't have before. Where you shut it off and start it back up. I bet that'll mature into a full-blown code. This really sucks a big one because I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. Interesting. I've gone ahead and hooked, because that code for that O2 heater performance for bank 1, why is that there? And oddly enough, well, let me show you. I wish I had a better way to do this. So I've hooked channel 1 is still on O2 sensor 2. Channel 2 here, the green trace is on O2 sensor 1 heater control circuit. I've kicked them on. What's curious though is when I turn on the number 1 heater, when we turn this on, it also turns on the number 2 heater, which this could be standard operation. Let's see here. Let's look just for the hell of it here. 1, 2 heater pulse width. Let's just see what it says when we turn them on. Yeah, see, it's according to service or scan data, which we know is not reliable, it turns both of them on, which we can also see here. Like I say, green trace is O2 sensor 1, red trace is O2 sensor 2, which they're both turning on. They're both going up to their respective voltage, up to 12 volts, key on, engine off. Okay, so that's something worth noting. Let's go in here. Let's turn that test off. Okay, so those are both going there. What's curious though is I never cleared the codes out of it, and now all of a sudden our O2 heater performance code is gone. I don't know what the world's happening here. Let's start it up. I'm going to get some live data. We're going to look at O2 heater or O2s. We're going to look at these as well as looking at our scope. I don't know what I just did here. I just did something wrong. Somehow I clicked into freeze frame. We'll look at our O2s. Let me go ahead and start the car up. Off and running. We can see our O2 bank 1 pulse width is 99%, which is what we're seeing here. We're seeing it's at full 12 volts. It's not really being regulated. Yeah, that's it. It is indeed at 99%. So pretty interesting. There does seem to be some feedback when this turns off. Okay, so we have to kind of keep this in mind here. I'm gonna go drive it, see if anything changes, see if it matures the code, and just kind of get some data here. I don't know how much noise is acceptable on these circuits, how much of a voltage regulator they share inside the PCM or anything of that matter. Not a big electronics guy, so when it comes to that stuff here, it's a little outside my wheelhouse. Let's see if we've automatically generated a code yet. Wow. Like I say, yesterday it was immediate. The second I dropped this thing down, put it in gear, didn't even make it out of the parking lot. I'd go to back out the door and engine light would be on. Let's see if that stands true today. The sucky part's gonna be if whatever the issue is intermittent. Oh, no engine light, that's amazing. It was super frustrating when I did it right at the end of the day. Wanted to get it done for this lady. So I drove down to the DG here. While everything looks like it's working, this has me questioning some things. Yesterday, I had no test equipment hooked to it other than the scan tool. And all we've done today is back probe in on those O2 sensors. I'm curious if we should look at some pin fitment issues. Remember, this thing prior was at a lot of shops and has probably had a lot of hokey pokey. I'm gonna go for a drive here. I'll let you guys know if anything changes, but definitely different results than I was having yesterday. So we have to keep in mind what we've done. What have we touched? What have we poked? What we've been talking with? What we've been dealing with? Just pulled out of the DG, engine lights on, rear O2 sensor completely shut off. So let's swing back into town here. And I don't know if once that code generates, does it shut that circuit off? Or do we have something going on that's pulling that circuit low? That's what I don't know. Yes, the circuit is turned off. It's at 0%. Looking at that. All right, let's pull over. Let's pull over here. Let's meddle with it on the side of the road. Okay. Stupid seatbelt off. I assume we're gonna have an O2 0037. 0037 active. Heater circuit low. Well, no kidding. It's turned off, so let's shut the key off. Key back on. Huh? Oh. Interesting. Oops, son of a gun. O2 heater circuit is working. We go to trouble codes. Engine light's still on. It has gone to a stored code. Boy. What the frig? Alright, shows it at 30% on the rear. We can see on here it's working. Bank 1 sensor 1 is at 99.6, which we can see that as well. So let's do this. I don't think this is going to prove anything. I'll just get a little more time on the screen here. Yeah, it's not going to prove zippy zap for us, but you know, we can see the moment it shuts off. I can pause it. We can go back through. Let me do this. Wait for this truck to go by, and then I'll pull ahead here and see if there's anything that jumps out to me when that shuts itself off. I literally went to pull ahead just slightly and something did change here, okay? So I'm gonna let off the brake. I'm gonna give it some gas. Oop, gonna stop. All right, it shut itself. So this is weird. Let's do this. Do we have, because I am probed into the ground, which is stupid. It's not where I should be probed. I'm probed into the ground on a sensor, so I can't tell if we're losing. I would think it would set a high code if we're losing ground. Key back on, fire it back up. Yeah, I would think it would set a circuit high code. Aren't we setting a circuit low code? Okay, foot's on the brake, I got it in drive. I'm gonna power brake it just a little bit. Oh, look at that. Okay, we're in neutral. Now we're in reverse. I'm gonna power brake it a little bit. Okay, we're gonna go back in drive. We're gonna power brake it. Ooh. Would you look at that, old son? I think we know what's up. So what's the difference between going from drive to reverse? It's the way the engine torques. When we put it in drive, it torques one way. When we put it in reverse, it torques the other. So we put it in reverse. Power braking it, nothing, neutral, drive, power brake it, wham bam, thank you ma'am. Code sets, Shut the key off, key back on, fire it back up. O2 heater's working again. Don't worry about this data, it doesn't refresh. Because you always got to back out of it. Our rear O2 is responsive. Oh, well, we can't tell because we don't have the proper ratings here. Okay. So there's our rear O2 working. I'll force it into a lean condition by pumping the brakes. All right. Put the car back in drive. Give it some throttle. Boom, our signal goes away. So we're losing something when the engine is torquing. So that's what was happening yesterday. That was my suspicion, but I said, hey, if we're losing ground, because see, I'm coasting right now. Oh, okay, it already shut the circuit off. So something's happening. We have a wire chafage pulling that circuit low, or we're losing a ground and the circuit's actually going high. Let's go move our ground wire that is in our O2 sensor. Let's see what we're losing. Are we losing ground or are we losing actual signal? Because that's gonna make a difference as far as when we go chasing. I'm just glad the problem came back. It's a Chrysler. We got to be missing a ground, but that doesn't make sense as far as code set criteria to me. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. I hate cars and so do you. Not all of you. Some of you do. I do. I'll tell you that much. Let's see. Just look for... See if Captain Obvious is laying around here anywhere. I looked at this harness yesterday and don't remember seeing anything that jumped out to me and said, hey, look right here. Except maybe this spot that says, hey, look right here. What is that? What in the world is that? You know what? Don't go frickin' touching stuff there, Rocco, because oh man, I thought it was this car I was looking at. There's all kinds of stuff touching and rubbing. I think maybe I just looked at that harness where that harness ran up around because I assumed it just dumped over to the PCM here. So we're thinking about things that move, that rock and roll, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, dude? You know, because when this, you know, when we're torquing it, something's moving here. My problem is I just touched a couple things. Let me make sure it's still broke before we go fiddling, because this is the issue. You know, we're gonna find a problem in the harness here. We need to know exactly which wire, and I shouldn't touch anything at this point. I do see several spots where there are potential suspects. You know, one over here on the cylinder head with that harness there. There's one right here on top of the transmission where it looks like it's touching pretty good. But let me just verify it's still broke. It is still broke. I put it in gear and it's still broken. As soon as I put it in drive. Get some, make sure it's still communicating here with our data. Oh, that's all locked up. The Altel does not like to be shut off. I'm going to take I want to kind of torque it there to see if it's the engine rocking action. Oh, you'd see, it seems like we'd see that glitch out by doing that. Let me see if Mrs. O is busy. Hey, are you busy? Oh, okay. Well, we'll revisit this after lunch, folks. Yeah, Stand by. I was washing my hands getting ready to go eat lunch with the very lovely Mrs. O. And what I think is happening, if our code set criteria is correct and our information that we're seeing here is correct, when we're torquing the engine in a forward motion and drive, I think we're going to find that the control side, the driver for that, is getting pulled to ground. I don't think we're losing ground because we know that when we open that circuit, when it's turned on, it will set a high code. So it can recognize that. If we lose ground, we're gonna set a high code. And if we're shorting out that wire, we're gonna set a low code. And something's happening when this thing's in drive. So that's why I didn't see it initially. I'm curious about that PCM now. If when we did our testing on it, no, because we tested that dang wire. We put voltage through it, I think, and lit up a test light. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that video. I would have checked wire integrity before I made the call, which doesn't mean a whole lot. That could mean that, you know, this wire is intermittently chafing, shorting out, ruining the PCM ultimately, but when we tested it, it wasn't. Got me curious now. We're on the trail. Stupid cars. I've got Mrs. O out here. We're gonna start it up. We're gonna power brake it. I'm gonna look at the signal for that rear O2. And I want to mostly see when she's power braking it, like what do I see moving? If I don't see anything obvious, we probably should verify that indeed it is a short on the control side. Like I say, I still could be wrong, but I'm trusting code set criteria at this point. Go ahead and start it up, Vanessa. All right, so right now it must be about a 90-some% duty cycle there. It's sat where we eat lunch. Okay, all right. Well, it's coming down now, so now we're probably around our 40 or 50% wherever it's at. Put it in drive. Okay, so the engine does rock quite a bit. Hold your foot on the brake and give it just a little bit of gas. A little more. Okay, let off it. So is that little bit that she did. Okay, do it again, Vanessa. Okay, let off it. All right, put it in neutral, shut it off, and start it right back up. Okay, put it in drive. Give it a little gas. Whoop, let off it. Let me show you how much it's moved. I want to show you a spot that I think is suspect. And we're going to investigate a little more. Let me we'll do it live. We'll go Blair Witch style. I'm looking at this harness right here on the corner of this transmission where the zip tie's broke. Give her a little gas. Yep. All right, so that killed the circuit. Let's look at other harnesses. So do that again, Vanessa. Let off it. So you see how that's rubbing there? Do it again. Okay, let off it. Again. Let off it. The other spot I saw was up here. And I saw something up here by the cylinder head. Right down here. Okay, do it again. Okay, let off it. Again. Okay. So, we have a rough spot there. We have a rub spot right there on the cylinder head, but this is the biggest mover and shaker down here. It could be nothing. It might not even be touching metal. Do it again. Okay. Go ahead and shut it off. Put it neutral and shut it off. And then start it back up. Put you guys down here. Sorry about the live action stuff. Let's see here. I'm going to hold this harness away a little bit. Okay, go ahead and put it in drive. Power brake it. Do it again, but hold it steady. Ah! The problem didn't go away. Let's see. or the problem went away. All I'm doing is holding out on this harness. I'm just taking a big fat guess here, folks. Okay, do it again. Power brake it. Okay, let off it. All right, see, this is why you don't go fiddling. It's why you don't touch stuff. Keep your freaking hands off it. That's what my parents used to tell me. Keep your hands off that. Okay, so now go ahead and power brake it again, miss. Okay, stop. See, all we've touched is this down here. There's got to be, ouch, damn it. There's got to be something in this, in the corner of this harness. I mean, it's all slimy. It's all falling apart. Put it in park, go girl. Go ahead and shut her down. There's got to be something in this corner, folks. That was my suspect spot. All I did is, when she power braked it, all I did is hold it away from the transmission there. Now we need to get this car up on a lift. We need to open up this harness. It's had a lot of transmission fluid dripped on it over the years, obviously. But we're gonna find a little piece of wire, is my guess, sticking out of this harness that's rubbing on that metal bracket on the side of the trainee, that's shorting that out, that led us down the wrong path because it was intermittent. And I think it ultimately took out the PCM once, possibly twice. Even though the PCM has the ability to preserve itself, obviously it shuts that circuit off. Very interesting. I'm going to get this tape cut away. I'm going to get it on the lift. We need to find that wire. We know what we're dealing with. Let me grab a diagram. We know we're dealing with some color brown with violet. 16 gauge wire. Brown with violet. That's the wire we're looking for. Let's see if we can find a bare spot on it. Burn my dang hand about 50 frickin' times here. Arthritis is killing me today in this finger. Ah, there it is. I thought I saw brown wire down here on the bottom. Bingo, bango, folks. Just pulled all this, all the tape and everything. It's just a slimy mess just because the trainee lines leak on it. I was looking for the brown wire. Zip tie was already broke down here, so that's what caused this problem. There it is, old son. That wire's just as corroded as my old thumb. It's not corroded, it's just down to bare metal. I don't know, I hope that's showing up. My face is too close to the viewfinder to see anything, but I'm far enough away from that wire to know that that is bare copper. Hopefully you guys can see it. So there's that. There's your problem, lady, right there. And that, folks, is why you don't fiddle with stuff when it comes to visual inspections. You move that harness, that problem disappears, because that is the wire. I mean, we can see some other wires here that have, I don't know, some kind of rub marks, or they've got chafage from the poly loom. I'm gonna have to open this up a little bit, do some exploration. I'm gonna go in here like Dora the Explorer. And tell swiper no swiping, because we need to fix this. Oh, is that another bare? No, I'm gonna go through each one of these wires with individual care and love and attention. And then we're gonna tape it up, pretend we didn't see any of it. Zip tie it back naturally after we fix everything. And that lady is gonna fix your problem. Son of a mother. That was a fun one, folks. So that was a fun one, folks. I think what we need to do now is I need to scrutinize those wires really good, see if that's the only one that has some chafage on it, if you will, and get that fixed proper. Look at the rest of the wires, get that taped back up, get some Tessa on there, and keep that from rubbing through. It does have a really nice, heavy loom over that harness from the factory, so we'll get that straightened out. There is the big question: are you going to eat this repair, I am not. Thanks for asking. I run a repair shop, not a charity. This car has been to multiple shops. Yes, I put a PCM in it originally. And if I remember right, we'll go back and look through that video and you will see that both of the upstream and downstream drivers were burned out of that computer. Without a doubt. We checked it, we put the used one in, we turned it on, we made sure it worked, and we ran a full drive cycle. I had no reason to believe anything else other than that. You can't just go on a wild goose chase. The second time around here, now I'm getting a little suspect. Yeah, we tested it. We verified wire integrity. We lit it up with a test light. If we had a short to ground, we would have noticed it at that point when we stuck our powered test light on it. What would have happened? That's right, the test light would have lit up, but it didn't. Lit up in the back, lit up in the front. If I remember correctly, we were in connector C3, whatever that pin was, and we verified wire integrity, and that PCM was junk. But now we're a little bit suspect. What made it go junk? Was the O2 sensor shorting out? Well, tested good cold. Put the new one in it. Did it need it? No. I've got the old one right there. I guess we could stick it in. They're only like 38 bucks or something like that. They're pretty cheap for an NTK. But what are you going to do when you have no other evidence leading you to say, hey, this is wrong, this is shorting out, so this is what we did. Put the computer in it. Yes, the O2 heater works again. Got that O2 in there, watching it, we're driving it, and then all of a sudden, the SHTF, the stuff hits the fan, we'll say. Now we got to figure out why, what's going on. This is the leading cause of what caused all the problems up until this point. It didn't cause the converter to go bad, and it didn't cause the O2 sensors to go bad, I'll tell you that. But it is what it is. This is what it takes sometimes. I'm not eating the cost of it. I don't run a charity. And it is what it is. This is what it takes to fix the car, and nobody else would have found it faster or more efficiently. So you just do what you got to do. I hope that clears some stuff up. If you hate me for charging my customers to fix their cars, that's fine too. You can hate me all you want, but it's just how it works, dude. For those of you that are new to the SMA channel, free tip for you, how to make your mini roll. Obviously you can't get your big chunk of Tessa tape down there to tape it up. Spin it around at least 9 times to find the beginning. Then rub your fingernail after you're done with that. Or go get your glasses so you can just see it. You're gonna have to have a 10 mil. If you use anything other than 10 millimeter, it won't work. Son of a gun. I got a little bit slippery. I should be washing my patties at this point, but we're not. And then it's not rocket science after this point. You just wrap her up on your socket. Get as much tape as you think you're going to need, and then add another couple inches. There, that should be enough for us to get after it there. Get your side cutters. Chip it, chop it off. And there is your mini roll. There we are, folks. Fixed the wire, taped it with Scotch 88, went over the top of it with Tessa, and finished it off with a Christmas tree zip tie in the factory holder. Because the thing is, we don't know if this lady's taking this to the car show. And now if she does, you'd have to be a pretty good judge to not see, to see that, to look at that and be like, oh yeah, it's not factory. But I think if she does get a points reduction, you're only talking 1 or 2 points at the car show. So I think we're safe with our repair there. Out going for a cruise. We're gonna watch these O2 sensors upstream and the downstream. We can see that our converter has lit off and seems to be working good. So we'll just drive along and see how much of a drive cycle we can get. I doubt any of it because the vehicle's already warmed up. We may be able to get some. If I get the O2 and O2 heater, I'll feel happy shipping this thing down the road. Stopped at my brother's here for a minute because to run the O2 test on the Chryslers, you gotta have them shut off. And bingo, bango. There we go. I let it sit shut off for a while. We're down to 1 monitor incomplete, which I am going to assume is EVAP. So we'll take a look. Okay. Incomplete evap. I guess too much gas in it anyway. It's a wonder on the evap when we started it. Let's make sure we have no codes pending or current. We'll hit read codes. Bam, there we go. Down to 1 monitor, so you can get a sticker now. Hallelujah. We'll just finish this video off right here. That's it, folks. Pretty bizarre one. Of course, looking back now, hindsight is always what it is. 2020, if you will. Not to be cliche, but what it is. We changed PCMs, engine control modules, body control modules, all kinds of modules. Cars are riddled with modules, and modules fail. You'll read down in the comment section, you'll probably read this multiple times, that anybody that came across this, they would have inspected the harness and found the short, because modules never fail for no reason. Bullshit. Modules fail all the time for no reason. I mean, we often change a module that's corrupt, it's got hardware failures, stuff like that. However, when this came in the second time for the same failure, similar failure on the same circuit, now I'm a little bit sus. There are certain ones where, like, Fords, they had, burning up coil drivers, and Nissan burning up idle air control drivers, stuff like that. There's some heritage stuff that we know about, like, this got to get an IAC. This needs, a PCM as well. This needs, new transistors put in it because, the coils are all shorted out. We got to replace the coils. Something like this that's pretty rare. Are you going to go through and open up the entire harness? No, you're not. And if you think you are, you're an idiot. Because you're not going to do it. You're not going to go open up and scrutinize every inch of wire. You would likely do, if you're, worth your salt, you're going to do a circuit integrity check just like we did. You're going to check, does that wire carry current? Is it intact from the PCM to, wherever it is you're going? In our case, the O2 sensor wire. And that's what we did. Yeah, it's continuous. It can carry current. It's not shorted to another circuit. It's not shorted to ground. It's not, it's not open. Not high resistance. Whatever. Whatever checks you're going to make. I mean, there's only 3 things that can really happen. But that is just testing it statically. To do these checks dynamically is pretty rare. It's not rare to have a component fail like that, but it's a little unusual. It's much harder to diagnose because, like I say, it is somewhat intermittent. It's only happening dynamically, not sitting statically in the shop. So that adds a little bit of a challenge to it. And it is what it is. And I'm sticking to my guns. I charge for what I do. We fixed it, and it is what it is. We're gonna move on. So if you don't agree with this, you don't like it, I want to hear about it in the comment section. And give me your thoughts, feelings. I mean, do it good down there. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it. Oh, Insta, Facebook, almost forgot. Just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.